Hello everybody. In this video, I am up at the Mount Goliath Nature Center on Mount Evans. If you've ever driven up the road all the way to the top of Mount Evans, you've probably blown past this little nature center pretty low on the route, and I have always done that in the past as well. But I do know there's some nice bristlecone pine trees back around this area, and so I'm up here tonight to photograph them with the stars on what looks to be a beautifully clear night. I'm excited to get out there and look around and try and find some interesting compositions. Let's get out there and see what we can find. I've got all my gear packed up, so let's get out on the trail here at the Mount Goliath Natural Area and see if we can find some interesting bristlecone pines to photograph with the Milky Way. Let's go check it out. Okay, I've got my first composition set up with one of these trees. Has the Milky Way going over the top of the tree, and I'll give you a look at that right now. See, I've got my camera set up here. Got this pretty interesting bristlecone pine out here in front of me. There's some other trees around as well. And I'll give you a look at my camera to show you the composition I was working on. So you can see it there. Got the tree there. The Milky Way coming across the sky up above the tree. And I'm also using my Lume Cube Panel Mini to do some light painting on the foreground because it is really dark in here in this forest without it. So that's how I'm getting a little bit of light there on the foreground of this image using my Lume Cube Panel Mini. I'm going to play around with this composition a little bit more before I move on to something else, but I think I'll really like how this one is turning out, especially with that little bit of light there on the foreground. This is shooting with my Nikon Z6 II and my Sigma 14-24 art lens attached with the FTZ2 adapter, as you can see here, and I have it at its widest setting at 14 millimeters that we're shooting with right now, since I'm pretty close to this tree here and trying to get as much of the Milky Way up there in that sky as possible. All right, I found another very interesting gnarly bristlecone here to photograph, and I'll give you a look at my composition there on the back of the camera that I'm working with. Kind of has the Milky Way coming right out of the top of the tree. Again, I use my little Lume Cube panel to do some light painting on the foreground for that shot, and I think I'm going to do a string of shots for the sky to stack now with it, because it should be pretty easy to blend this one. There's a pretty clean break between the trees in the foreground and the sky. And I'm still using the 14-24 art lens. I'm at about 17 millimeters for this shot. And yeah, I really like how this one's coming out. So I'm gonna fire some shots to stack now for the sky, and then I'll keep working my way up the trail and try and find something else interesting. With this photo, I especially like how the core of the Milky Way seems cradled between the branches of the bristlecone pine, and then reaching up to the corner of the image through a colorful, airglow-filled sky. All right, I've got another composition here that I really like with this bristlecone pine here. And you can see on the back of my camera, I did a little light painting for this one as well. And I'm close enough to the tree line in this position that I can start to see the mountains beyond that are above the tree line up on the tundra. Let me bring that shot back up. Use my Lume Cube panel for more light painting. One of the things I really like about that panel mini is I can not only adjust the color balance of the light coming out of it, but I can adjust the brightness of the light quite a bit as well. So I've been running it for these shots at about 10% brightness, and then also instead of turning it directly towards the foreground of my photo, I've been turning it towards my face, so this is actually reflected light that is bouncing back towards the trees to get it really weakened down enough to have a good balance of light on that foreground with the stars above. So looking forward to getting these back on the computer and seeing how they turn out, but I'm really excited to get these out there and see what the final product will look like. I think I'm going to wrap it up with this spot for tonight and head back towards the car, as that's 3 different compositions I've been able to get in, and it is starting to get late. It's nearly 1 a.m. and I've got a solid hour and a half back home once I get back to the car. But this is my first time coming up here. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I think I'll be really happy with the results. So let's get this stuff packed back up and start heading back towards the car. Well, I decided to walk a little farther up the trail to get out of the main forest and see what I could see. And I found this very interesting tree here, kind of sheltered by this rock. And the Milky Way lines up a little bit to the left. I thought that would be one more interesting shot. I'll show you that composition here on the back of my camera. Pretty nice, huh? Now for this shot, I did start out trying to light paint with my Lume Cube panel, as I had been, and I found that it was coming out a lot brighter than I expected, even turning it all the way down to 1%. Like, why was it doing that? Well, when I turned it off to take my sky shots, I found out why. Because this shot, I'll bring that back up, that's actually not lit by my Lume Cube panel mini at all. So where is that light coming from? Well, if I turn off to my left here and look out into the distance, you can probably see out there. I'll zoom in a little more. There we go. You can see the lights of Denver down below me. And that is what was lighting up my photo. Now that I'm out of the forest and not sheltered by that, that light reaches all the way up here to my location up here on Mount Goliath and lights up my photo pretty well. Didn't expect that, but it does make for an interesting look to the shot, and I kind of like it. So I believe now, though, I'm going to pack this up. We're nearing 1:30 in the morning, and I'm going to head back down the trail to the car and start that hour-and-a-half drive back home. But this has been a really fun night up here, and I'm glad I finally got the opportunity to come up. So let's pack up, and I'll recap a little bit as I hike back down the trail towards the car. There's something special about being out under the stars in wild places like this. Our ancestors shared this same experience. They navigated by the stars. They built their homes, towns, and places of worship to align with the sun, moon, and the stars on important dates of the year. Their creator communed with them under the stars. These ancient bristlecone pines have stood on this mountainside for millennia, living on as the world around them has changed in incredible ways. Standing beside these timeless trees, under a sky filled with countless stars, brings me the same peace it brought those who came before me. I'm on my way, hiking back to the car, walking back through the trees. There's definitely a lot of interesting trees up here amongst these bristlecone pines and the regular pines and all that. There's a lot of them that I would have liked to have gotten a photograph with the Milky Way, but it just didn't line up correctly. It could be a cool place to come back to even during the daytime and do some photographs of a lot more of these trees up here. Maybe do some black and whites. Try and catch some of these in some morning light or some sunset light and get up here a little bit earlier than the 10:30 I got up here tonight. But it's definitely an interesting area that I will come back to again to explore more. Mount Goliath Natural Area up here on Mount Evans. I've enjoyed this a lot tonight. All right, I'm back to the car. It's a little after 2 a.m. But that was definitely a worthy adventure up here to Mount Goliath tonight. I think I got some really cool shots, which by the time you get to this point in the video, you'll have already seen them. So I hope they worked out good. And thank you for joining me on another adventure. Make sure and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button as well. Like 98% of my watch time comes from people that have not subscribed to my channel. I'd like to balance that out a little more, right? Get some more subscribers and get them watching. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.